The Michigan Wolverines wore out the Fresno State Bulldogs, winning 30-10 in Michigan's opener in the Big House. And I say wore down and not escaped because Michigan consistently led Fresno State, and every time Fresno State tried to chip into the lead, Michigan responded. But that was one of the few good takeaways from Michigan's performance. I think Saturday was a mini culmination or a smaller snowball effect of Sharon Moore's mistakes, whether that is in evaluating the roster, whether that is in the assistant coaches and coordinators that he hired, and it could be a little bit of an overreaction. But Michigan played its first game. It's the first look at the team, true look at the team, not in practice. So there are some takeaways. But I do also want to exercise caution, as I did with basically the entirety of week one, and will continue to do so. But I want to compare Michigan versus East Carolina last year, Michigan's opener in 2023, to Michigan-Fresno State this year. Now, I think this year's Fresno State team is clearly going to be better than last year's East Carolina team. But you never know. And Michigan scored 30 points in both openers. And both defenses played exceptionally well. So there are some similarities, and Michigan's only a year removed from their national championship team last year. So I think it's important to look at both openers. Michigan had 402 total yards in last year's opener. They only had 269 this year's opener. Michigan had 33 minutes and 26 seconds of possession. Michigan had 34 minutes from 23 to 24. Michigan had no turnovers in last year's opener. They had one turnover in this opener. They had 26 first downs last season to 18 first downs this season in the openers. Michigan passed for 121 yards, and they ran for 148 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per pass and 4.4 yards per run in this year's opener. In last year's opener, Michigan averaged 9 yards per pass attempt, 3.9 yards per run attempt. They had 280 passing yards, 122 rushing yards. I look at Michigan's performance against Fresno State yesterday, and I got to be honest, in part, it's similar to my reaction to Oregon versus Idaho. Oregon versus Idaho was very, very weird, but I still think Oregon is a very good team who had a very off performance. I will want to watch some more and digest more of Oregon's film in that game, perhaps, but it's an FCS opponent, and Oregon put up yards, and they had impressive moments in that game. They just couldn't follow through. And with Michigan, it was a little different, but at the same time similar, because Michigan and Oregon have very different styles of play. Michigan, at times, and especially toward the end, looked good at run blocking and even pass blocking. The offensive line eventually wore Fresno State down, and Michigan averaged nearly 5 yards per carry before the knee down. And they did have an impressive touchdown drive in the fourth quarter. But before that, their first touchdown basically came off of a short field from a tipped interception. They had 2 long field goals by Dominic Zvada, who I think, along with Will Johnson and Kalel Mullings, you can put them up here for players who carried Michigan against a good Fresno State team, but not anyone who's close to Texas, close to Oregon, Ohio State, USC, I'd say is better than Fresno State, so on. And there are possibly other opponents who Michigan will face that are better than Fresno State. And this was at one point, 16-10 game in the fourth quarter. And there's not a lot that you can take away, because Michigan does play Texas in week 2, and I wonder if they were looking ahead a little bit. But let's just go with it in the sense that, take Texas out, what did you see? I saw a team that could not throw a pass to save their life consistently. Davis Warren went 15 of 25 for 118 passing yards, a touchdown, a pick. He had a 33 quarterback efficiency rating and averaged 4.5 yards per pass attempt. That was easily Michigan's worst game at quarterback since Michigan versus Washington in 2021, when they ran for like 300 yards and didn't even pass for 100. Michigan's worst game at quarterback in several seasons. And unlike 2021, 2022, and 2023, Michigan does not have a month to fix any potential issues that they have. They have this week, and that's it. And Texas comes to town after pounding Colorado State 52-0 and looking like one of the more impressive teams in all of college football. College football, I said in the preseason I thought this would be a weak year, a down year. It looks like that through 1 week. And again, I don't want to overreact, and I'm going to continue to say that throughout this video and others, but it looks like Alabama, Georgia, maybe Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, and Notre Dame, again, only based off of week 1, and everyone else. And I don't think that is the makeup of the race, because I think there are some teams like Oregon, for example, who just had really bad week 1 performances, and maybe that's Michigan too. But just going based off of week 1, one of the best teams in all of college football who put on one of the cleanest performances in week 1 is coming to your house after in your house in a night game environment. You did not play a good game. Alex Orji was not on the field that much, more than a typical backup quarterback, but they only let him throw 2 times. One of the times was a simple check down to Donovan Edwards out of the backfield, brilliantly called, well schemed. You can see Sharon Moore and Kirk Campbell doing work there, and touchdown Michigan. The other time was a throw where he was several yards short of his receiver. Now he was throwing off platform, and we know that Orji is an inconsistent passer, but that looked bad. Nonetheless, he's great at running the football. And Michigan won, again, 30-10. They only outgained Fresno State by 25 yards. They had 1 less turnover. Both had 18 first downs. Michigan had 8 more minutes of possession, which is part of the reason why they were able to run the ball effectively and really pull away in that fourth quarter, is they eventually broke Fresno State, both offensively and defensively. Fresno State only had 9 yards rushing for 3 sacks. You take away the sacks, you don't do sack adjustments. Fresno State had 19 carries on the ground for 39 yards, which is only about 2 yards per carry. So Michigan's run defense did very well. I think mainly because of my preseason predictions that it's still the best rushing defense in the country. The passing offense did have some holes, I think mainly due to schematics, though, from Wink Martindale, like bringing that ugly zero blitz. But they also had 2 interceptions, and they had 2 more that were taken away by penalties that did not involve the defensive backs. So the defense looked really good, but the offense was extremely meh. Before we resume this video, I want you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this video around to other college football fans who you know will enjoy our content, and click that notification bell so that you can get notified when we release new content here on College Football with Sam. Like the video, click the share button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you want to do something extra to support the channel, as we do independent work here in Great Analysis, you can donate through a super chat in the comment section, or go to my Patreon page via the link in the description or the pinned comment, and sign up as a member to support us there. But I appreciate you for getting this far, watching the video. Hope to see you through the rest of the video. And also, comment your thoughts on this game down below, on a performance from Michigan that was underwhelming, to say the least. I had Michigan, by context, 34-7, so by scoring margin, I did not expect Michigan to come in and just own Fresno State, because Fresno State is one of the better group of 5 teams. Michigan is playing Texas the following week. Texas is a more diverse and balanced team from Michigan in a preseason point of view. like, I did have Michigan power rated and ranked ahead of Texas to begin the year because from a preseason standpoint, I genuinely thought they were a better team. Keyword is thought. I don't know anymore. I didn't watch Texas's game yesterday, but safe to say they performed way better than Michigan did, just from what I can see in the box score. But again, I'll have to watch because I want to give the best analysis possible. But Texas always had the more diverse roster, the more balanced roster. The difference is I thought that Michigan's defense and special teams and offensive line would make it such that they could alleviate concerns in the passing game. And I actually did think their passing game would be a little bit better than what they showed against Fresno State. But Davis Warren and Alex Orji's quarterback battle was something I didn't anticipate, and something I didn't exactly anticipate was not just some of Michigan's struggles on the offensive line early. Michigan does have some issues to work on there. They were rotating a lot of players, trying to find who fits best. But Fresno State was also a very physical team, and they schemed their defense well. They stacked the box the whole time, sending 6, 7, or 8 guys forward, being very conscious about the run, knowing that Michigan was going to want to run the football. And I think as the game went on, they figured out that Michigan was very limited at quarterback. They stonewalled Michigan for 3 quarters. There was a point where Michigan only ran the ball for 2 yards per carry. Part of that, again, was rotations, inexperience, struggles along the offensive line, Donovan Edwards not having a good game, and Michigan trying to figure out their running back room, and Michigan having a quarterback in Davis Warren who is not as mobile as J.J. McCarthy, and is probably about as mobile as Cade McNamara is, honestly. Maybe a little more mobile, but probably not enough to make a huge difference. I mean, McCarthy could break off some pretty impressive scrambles. I don't think Warren has that capability. Orji certainly does, but Michigan was figuring themselves out on offense. You could clearly see that Michigan only returned Colston Loveland and some experience on the O-line and running back, as those were the best parts of the offense, but receiver and quarterback were rough, particularly quarterback. Fresno State had the better quarterback yesterday. Mikey Keene did rather well, 22 of 36 for 235 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. He was tough, throwing those 2 interceptions that were called back due to penalties, and then getting Fresno State down the field. And Malik Sherrod, tough runner, had a long run of 8 against one of the best defenses in the country. And I thought that Fresno State played a very good game. They definitely played this like it was their Super Bowl, for sure. And good on them. They're a team that if Michigan is a great, near elite team, if they are in that range, and Fresno State can play this way consistently, who's to say they can't win the Mountain West? I mean, Boise State struggled on defense yesterday, though Ashton Jeanty, with 6 rushing touchdowns, certainly put on a performance, a Doak Walker award-winning performance. I'm curious to see how he'll do against Oregon next weekend. And Fresno State's defense, they earned a sack, 4 tackles for loss, a pass defended. They had 67 total tackles, and they didn't break down really until that final drive, which resulted in a Colston Loveland 18-yard touchdown pass from Warren. And Loveland was breaking tackles all day because that's who he is. He's one of the best, if not the best, tight ends in the country, and he had 8 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. He was Michigan's best receiving threat by a mile. And I'm just saying, Fresno State did stonewall Michigan for better or for worse, and good on them. For 3 quarters, it was a game. Really, for 3.5 quarters. Again, it was 16-10. 16-10 in the 4th quarter. And the reason I say, because we talk about winners last, we save the best for last on this channel. The reason I say that this game was a culmination, a mini culmination, or a small snowball effect of Sharon Moore's coaching mistakes is because Michigan looked like a Big Ten West team. They looked like 2017 Wisconsin, or 2021 or 22 or 23 Iowa. They looked like a good, great Big Ten West team. They did not look like national champions or a national title caliber team. They did not even look, relative to the fact that they have to play 3 teams who are ranked preseason top 4 and who have some of the highest ceilings in the country, a playoff team relative to their schedule. And whether it's Wink Martindale sending a 0 blitz, which I don't even know why you were doing that when you can already get pressure with Josiah Stewart, Derek Moore, Kenneth Grant, and Mason Graham, and Jayshawn Barham as well. Whether it's the offense failing to pick up an easy 3rd and short, whether it is not getting a quarterback in the transfer portal and shifting all your chips into a quarterback room where the presumed starter only threw 1 career pass attempt. Jack Tuttle, Davis Warren were walk-on caliber, and Jaden Davis is a true freshman. That's coaching right there. Now, I think that Michigan did pull away, and I thought that there were some highlights in coaching as well. After all, this team only returns 40% of their production. You knew there was going to be a drop-off from last year, and we saw that. And the defense is still elite. It may be the same caliber of defense that Michigan had last year, with a little more boom, but also a little more bust with the addition of Wink Martindale and the fact that he is going to be sending more blitzes, whether you like it or not. I wouldn't be shocked if Michigan finished the year defensively with more sacks and maybe the same amount of turnovers forced, even though they lost much of their turnover production from last year, losing Sainer Still, losing Wallace, Chris Jenkins, their linebackers. But Michigan will probably allow more big plays than they did last year, because you send those 0 blitzes against Texas, unless Texas is running the football, whether it's Isaiah Bond, whether it's Silas Bolden, Matthew Golden, Ryan Wingo, DeJounte Cook, I don't care. You send a 0 blitz against those wide receivers and Quinn Ewers and their tight ends, well, they're ripping one to the house. And I don't know exactly how to put it. Again, because it's week 1, it's like my video yesterday with Miami versus Florida. About the only takeaway I had from that game is, well, Billy Napier probably won't have a job by the end of the year and that Miami has an insanely high ceiling. But I don't know if Miami's a top 10 team yet, because Florida also looked pretty terrible. It's similar here with Michigan. Michigan's defense looked awesome. The offense clearly has questions. But do I know that the offense will look bad, this bad, for the rest of the year? I don't, because Michigan probably did save a fair amount for Texas. Not saying that their offense is good. It looked way worse than I expected it to, and I expected Michigan to hold some things back for Texas. The defense lived up to my expectations, to Michigan's preseason expectations, bringing back the amount of NFL talent that they did. But under 5 yards per pass and 5 yards per run, one of those has to change if Michigan wants to have a chance at beating Oregon, beating Ohio State, and beating Texas. If you're going to have a very mediocre passing game, then you need to have what Michigan did in 2021 or 2022, where your rushing offense is so strong that the run makes it so that even an average or below average quarterback can keep a defense honest. Davis Warren was incapable of doing that. And I think that starting Warren and trying to get him in rhythm and figuring everything out, while that could have been a good thing, by the end of the game it was irritating, because even though Orji had that one bad pass, he did get Michigan a touchdown, and when he was on the field, the ground game opened up. It felt like the offensive line was more confident, and the offense overall was more confident. It feels similar to Alabama last year when they played South Florida. It feels like the team believes in Orji more than Warren, in the same way that Alabama believed more in Jalen Milroe than they did in Ty Simpson or Tyler Buckner, despite the fact that Milroe at the time was not playing close to the standard that Alabama had, they had to adapt for him because he was the best that they had. He gave them the best chance to win. I feel like that's the case with Michigan here with Alex Orji. Alex Orji has far better athleticism. He has a stronger arm, and Michigan does have some speed at receiver. They got some separation last night that Warren just couldn't take advantage of. And to be fair, Orji didn't either when he had that one chance to get a comeback route, and he missed the pass for like 4 or 5 or 3 yards short. It was just an awful performance on offense from Michigan. They looked like Iowa, the defense being one of the best in the country, particularly at stopping the run. Will Johnson having that pick 6, Makari Page leading the team in tackles. Michigan also earned another interception from Zeke Berry, who looks to have a big year at safety. And look, I just think that Michigan has to be better on offense if they want to have a shot at winning the Big Ten. They can maybe, with how Oregon and Ohio State looked yesterday, still be in the race if their offense is just average and the defense and special teams is awesome. But that's asking a lot, as then Michigan would have to win a lot of close games and the ball would just have to bounce their way several times. Michigan, same with any team in college football, you want to take control. You want to take control of your destiny, game control your opponents to death, and be the better team. Not just win based off of a turnover or a ball that bounces the other way. You do not want to win like how Ohio State beat Michigan in 2016, where you rely on a 4th and 1 conversion and mistakes from an opposing quarterback to win the game in overtime. You want to win like how Ohio State beat Michigan in 2018 or 19, or how Michigan beat Ohio State in 21, 22, or 23, where you consistently lead and you just play the better football through all 4 quarters or for most of the game. And I don't know if Michigan's capable of doing that in all 12 or even 11 or 10 of their games. I don't know if they're capable of doing that. I mean, if they beat Texas, Oregon, or Ohio State based off of what we have seen through one game, and again, it's one game, Michigan will probably win one of those games by playing close, by not turning over the football, by having a little advantage in time of possession, and by using their home field advantage to maybe throw Oregon or Texas's offensive line off and win by a score. And that's if they beat one of those teams. And you don't want to rely on that style of play to win. The defense and special teams were great. The offense, as I've already said, there's a lot more to be desired of, particularly at quarterback and receiver, but also I would say Donovan Edwards in the offensive line. Edwards averaged less than 3 yards per carry, and Michigan's offensive line mightily struggled in the first half at run blocking. Finally, my most valuable player in this game is cornerback Will Johnson. He had 3 total tackles, a pass defended, an interception, and he picked 6. He did get burned a few times, but he made up for that with the pick 6. And this is Will Johnson. I've seen him before. It was the same thing with Sainer Still last year. You get burned a few times, but then you make up for it with the big plays. And Mikey Keene's a good quarterback. And the receiver that they have in Jalen Moss and also Mac Delana and Raylan Sharp, I said in my preview of this game, Fresno State does have a good offense and a good defense. It's not great. It's not near elite. It's nowhere near elite. I don't even think Fresno State's a top 25 team, but they may be one of the better teams on Michigan's schedule. They're certainly one of the better group of 5 teams. Could be the best group of 5 team. We'll have to see. And Will Johnson overall did have a good game, and that pick 6 sealed it for Michigan on a drive where Fresno State was mixing things up, and they were in the red zone. And Will Johnson took a pick 86 yards to the house. That's why I have him as the MVP, because he had a touchdown. And overall, he gave Fresno State problems. Because if he wasn't there at corner, and this is another concern for Michigan on defense, is secondary depth. Michigan does not have the DBs they had last year. I mean, it would be really nice if Keon Sabb could just come back to Michigan, and this could actually be the nation's best secondary. But They have some depth concerns. They have a lot of transfers there that they tried to rotate in against Fresno State. You can tell the staff is trying to do everything they can to maximize reps and experience and train these guys before Texas comes to town and they play at noon in 6 days. Will Johnson helps minimize the holes that Michigan has right now and perhaps for the rest of the year in the secondary. They were targeting him as the game ended, but early on, and I think this will be the case for most offenses against him for all 4 quarters, they're going to try and target the other guys and only target Will Johnson if they feel like they have to or if they want to throw Michigan's defense off. And Fresno State wasn't really able to throw Michigan's defense off all that much. So that's why I have Will Johnson as the MVP, but also I want to give a shout out to Dominic Zvada, Michigan's kicker they got from Arkansas State. 3 of 3 on field goals, long of 55, 12 total points, factoring in some extra points that he had, 3 of them. Look, he's just so good. 1 of 1 from 40 and 49, 2 of 2 from 50 plus. He may be the nation's best kicker. Michigan has been privileged year over year over year, whether it's Jake Moody, James Turner, and now probably Dominic Zvada, of having elite kickers. And combine that with good special teams play. Samaj Morgan looked much more mature, more disciplined, more comfortable as punt returner than he did last year, and Mullings did a good job kick returning. Michigan has great special teams. Zvada's a huge part of that, and I would name him as the MVP because he kept Fresno State significantly behind to the point where when they got the touchdown, they would have needed another touchdown to take the lead. He gave Michigan a cushion when their offense looked horrific. And I'm telling you, the box score may deceive some of you, 30-10. One of those touchdowns was a pick 6. Another touchdown, the first of the game, was great field position for Michigan off of a tipped ball and a Zeke Berry interception. And 9 of those points were long field goals. Michigan only had 1 full drive that resulted in a touchdown. The other 23 points were from well outside the red zone, or with the first touchdown of the game, Michigan technically had a red zone trip, but they basically started their drive close to the red zone anyway. So for the Wolverines, have Donovan Edwards or Khalil Mullings or Alex Orji or Colston Loveland or someone really outside of Colston Loveland have a most valuable player type performance. Michigan really needs to step up this week because Texas is coming to town and Texas will do damage. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and comment your thoughts down below. Thank you to Patreon members, Crash2488 and Braska Rascal, for sponsoring this video and channel as Heisman members. It's $25 a month, and if you want signed, free College Football with Sam merchandise delivered to your door, sign up as a Heisman member for $6 a month, and that will be given to you as a reward. Thank you to Chris Slane, Connor Little, OH, Ismar, and Tyler Nye for being All-American members, $10 a month. Thank you to John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, and Janisha Cockrell for being all-conference members at $5 a month. If you want to support the page, again, link in the description or down below in the pinned comment to sign up as a Patreon member. But if you want to get my merchandise now and support the channel in a different way, you can also purchase merchandise from my store, again, via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment. It's comfortable, it's nice, it's high quality, and especially if you're a fan of a Big Ten school, all Big Ten school themes are on my shop in t-shirts. So check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.